known as MBTV. I'd also like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, our communications director, is making audio and video recording. If anyone else is making an audio recording, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon, or if you're joining by phone, press *9 on your keypad. And when Sean recognizes you, please state your name for the record.
It says on my web corder that's recording this. I don't know how to stop that.
Rich Sullivan from the MV Times.
Rich, you're there. You're recording?
That's correct.
Thank you. That's the only one I had.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a statement regarding remote participation. In response to Governor Baker's executive orders concerning the necessity to conduct public meetings in line with social distancing guidelines during the current state of emergency involving COVID, all board members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance would be unreasonably difficult. All board members are participating in the meeting by Zoom, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. All members' remote participation in the meeting, any and all votes taken by members today shall be by roll call vote. So thank you all for that. And with that, pulling up the June 3rd joint meeting agenda. We've made the recording announcement. We're going into the management report from the general manager, Mr. Davis. Subject A is COVID-19. Bob?
Good morning, everyone. So just starting off here, some updates since we last met. Of course, the health and safety of our employees and our ridership has been one of our primary concerns these last couple months. In that regard, since we last met, we did have one employee who tested positive for COVID. As a result, we arranged in connection with the Barnstable County Public Health, the Town of Barnstable Public Health, Hyannis Fire Department, Nantucket Public Health, Nantucket Cottage Hospital, and Cape Cod Hospital to have approximately 75 of our employees tested, and I'm pleased to report that all tests came back as negative. This incident, however, did highlight the concern that we have with any sort of outbreak amongst our workers, and how challenging it would be to be able to man the vessels and the terminals, while we're dealing with any sort of number of people that would be out of work. Following that incident, we did have it was reported that a C Streak employee who had been working at our terminal in Oak Bluffs had tested positive for COVID. And that required us not only to sanitize that terminal, but to have two of our employees who had worked at that location go to be tested, and I'm told that they have a negative test as well. But this just highlights the need for people to try to follow the guidance, the enforcement of face coverings for our passengers and our employees needs to continue. We have issues with social distancing in terms of the vessels and the disembarkation procedures, and that remains an issue that we're trying to grapple with at the time. But I think overall, a majority of the people are very cognizant of CDC guidance in terms of social distancing, masks, hand sanitizing, and the like. So I think, and by and large, I think those efforts can't go understated. Regarding some of the other measures that we've taken, as reported previously, we continue to have medical professionals come in daily to meet our crews and provide not only a questionnaire, but regarding their health condition, but also they do some testing of their temperature and blood oxygen. We also have questionnaires for other employees, other locations that they have to do on a daily basis, and that we have a zero tolerance that if any of those standards are not met, they are sent home. our employees are required to wear masks when they not socially distance themselves. They're aware of that. We've been, in addition to the crew, what the crews have been doing on board the vessels, in terms of cleaning and sanitizing, which I don't want to understate the efforts that those crews have been doing. And it can be commended not only on the vessels, but at the terminals. But we have been assigning cleaning crews to come in on a nightly basis to clean the vessels, perform a little deeper cleaning each evening on the vessels. We do cleaning of our buses, but we have reduced our bus capacities to 20 riders. There's an occasion here or there where there might be a family that will go to 21 or 22. That's been allowed, but we try to cut it off at 20. But the buses are sanitized every 3 to 4 hours. You may see at our terminals that in some cases we've installed plexiglass shields, not only between the employees and customers, but also between employees to try to minimize any contamination in that regard. And we continue to look to better practices and what we can be doing. Some of the things that are, we have on order a number of electrostatic sprayers that we're hopeful will be coming in perhaps as soon as this month, that we'll be able to use not only at our terminals, but on board our vessels and our buses to be able to sanitize. The basis of these sprayers are that it charges the chemicals as they're coming out, so they adhere to surfaces. And while it may be not a direct contact with it, the materials end up circling around and getting the backsides of things as well. So it's we're hopeful that we'll be able to get that equipment in soon. We have a supply of cloth masks for all of our employees. We've given everyone at least 5 at this point, so that way they can change one every day that they work. But we continue to source additional ones because they will need to be replaced here or there as we go along for those efforts. We also continue to work on a mobile ticketing, passenger ticketing, and I'm sure I'm getting some stares from some people about it, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to, when we resume service with the INO, that we'll start again with that, and then hopefully have that available for our traditional service shortly thereafter. Regarding service, we have been making modifications as we go along to our service levels. So back on starting on May 17th, we added additional service on the Vineyard Run. That included adding the MV INO, the MV Island Home to service. So now we have 3 vessels, the Island Home, the Martha's Vineyard, and Woods Hole running service on that route. Also on May 27th, we added service to Nantucket with the MV Sankaty. So now we have the Eagle, the Gay Head, and the Sankaty running. As you know, we did bring out the MV INO for Memorial Day weekend to see. There's a number of things that we were looking at. One was we wanted to make sure the engines that were overhauled this past winter. We also wanted to be able to look at what cleaning protocols we needed to be adjusting based on the ridership. The numbers that we had for that weekend, were not very encouraging, and we did end up having taking it out of service again. At this point, though, we do plan starting June 17th We'll be adding service with the motor vessel Nantucket on the Vineyard route. So they'll have 4 vessels starting on June 17th. And on the Nantucket route, we will be bringing back the MV INO to begin its summer service. And in that regard, we do anticipate we will be, we got approval from the board at last month's meeting to start up the preseason sale of the ticket books for the MV INO. So for people on Nantucket and the travelers to Nantucket, we will be starting that on June 8th. So in terms of traffic for May, our passenger traffic was down 68% approximately compared to a year ago, just under 192,000 passengers. Our automobile traffic was down 46% versus a year ago, a little over 19,000 automobiles. And our truck traffic was down 35% versus a year ago, or just under 7,000 trucks. So those numbers are a little bit more encouraging than they were in April, as you may recall. But by no stretch of the imagination are these, the numbers that we typically would be expecting. And I think in your packet, and I think Mark can come up here as well to explain some of these. We have a number of charts that I think John will share on the screen here regarding where we stand on our reservation activity going forward.
Go with the that one. Okay, so this graph showing a comparison as of May 31st, the reservations for in the future for the months of June, July, August, September, and October of 2019 versus 2020. That is the quantity of future reservations made.
This is vehicle reservations only.
Go with the comparison.
So as you saw that chart, for June, we're looking at about 2/3 of what our reservation activity would normally be at that time. You get to July and August, we're approximately 80% of what we would expect in terms of reservation activity, but 80% is still a pretty good.
In this graph up there on the chart on the screen now shows the comparison from the week before to show the growth week over week, the same time period. Go with this one. Grab the next one, that's fine.
These are great, Mark, but I think you should tell us that they are vehicle reservations and stop us from guessing.
Mm-hmm. All right, and this chart showing the advanced reservation activity by month, and it shows from April 21st to May 31st. And you can see where June, on April 21st, we're at 76% of the year prior. We bottomed out on about May 14th at 62%, and we're seeing an increase over the last couple of weeks, 66%. So this wanted to put a more historical scale for the last 6 weeks or so. Sure. This chart here is a new chart showing the difference between reservations added and reservations canceled compared to the prior year using a 7-day moving average. So if you look on May 3rd, we were 837 less reservations than we were the year before. On May 15th, we were 490 reservations made for that day, less than the year prior. And then on May 31st, we're down to about 106 reservations less than the year before. So keep in mind, in the month of May, we had a decrease of about 12,268 reservations. For the first 9,000 of those were in the first half of the month. So we've seen a slowdown in the discrepancy between the prior year and the current year as far as net reservation activity.
That's great news.
This is showing the credit card activity, again, using a 7-day moving average to smooth out any discrepancies between days or holidays. We see how we appeared to have bottomed out in the beginning of April, and we're consistently right around the high 60s to low 70s percentage of last year for credit card receipts. There's one more, the 7-day traffic.
This one?
Yep. This chart showing the reservation, the actual traffic that's carried per day in each group. So you can see the passengers are down below 40% using the 7-day average, not showing the growth of the other categories such as the passenger cars, the passenger trucks, meaning the pickup trucks, the workers' trucks, and the larger freighter showing. And we can really see in the second half of May the increase in growth. Compared, no, it's relative compared to where we should be. I'll take any questions anyone has on those.
Jim, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry. Welcome to technology. I have a couple of questions, but if anybody else has any comments or questions, please go ahead. Okay.
I have some questions about the medical testing. Is this a good time, or do you want to talk about numbers, Jim?
I'd like to talk about numbers.
Why don't you go ahead with the numbers, and I'll ask my questions afterwards.
Thank you. No problem. I've had these discussions with Bob throughout the past 2 weeks for the following reason. It has to do with space availability and potential for revenue growth. We're tracking numbers of reservations made, but we are not tracking numbers of calls or reservations that are attempted to be made and then don't get made because there's no availability, if that's clear. And what occasioned my discussions with Bob Davis and Mark is the fact that over the past 3 weeks, I've been getting an inordinate number of people complaining about the inability to get reservations for the island. These are island residents and seasonal residents and real estate agents. I have passed those with specific instances where people have had issues to Allison Fletcher, and she's been very helpful with that. But I received a call from former SSA Governor Ron Rappaport early last week, who tells me that he has been getting a tremendous number of calls as well. And as a result of that, he reached out to me. So anecdotally, both of us have been getting a lot of concern of people who aren't making reservations. And speaking with Bob about it, he's gone through the numbers that you see very well and has indicated that we're opening up on the 17th with more service to the vineyard and going to continue that through, I believe, mid-July. And what my question would be, or suggestion, is given that July 4th is quite a big weekend, does it make sense to open up to our full summer schedule on July 1st and see what we get? See if we do get more passengers because there's more availability at the times people want, and see if we can get a revenue kick from doing that, rather than waiting till mid-July. And if nothing happens, then we can, cut back. But I was thinking that it might make some sense to try and boost revenues by making some more availability starting on July 1st. So that's the conversation I've been having with Bob.
So if I may, some of this, we're aware that prior to us putting On the Island Home on the Vineyard route, that we were falling behind, is how I'll phrase it, in terms of what service we were offering versus what the demand had been. We were aware that there was a number of standby lines that ended up taking 3 or 4 hours for people to move through the standby lines to fill in the space. At this point, with the Island Home on, that seems to be rectified. And that's primarily without using the lift decks on the Island Home at this point. The last couple days, we haven't had to run the last trip of the Woods Hole or the Martha's Vineyard. So, some of this is, unfortunately, some of this ends up being that people want to travel at peak times, and we just don't have the ability to add have all the boats in Woods Hole at the same time heading to the island, or all the boats on the island heading to Woods Hole at the same time. So we got that. We're hopeful that we stay ahead of this at this point with the service that we're looking at. I think the next couple weeks will be telling with the governor's plans for reopening, to start to see what sort of demand that we have. As one of those charts that Mark just showed you, July, August, we're 78 to 80% on our vehicle spaces compared to a year ago. With the spaces that we have, we're hopeful that we're not turning anyone away. We don't want to be doing that, obviously, because quite frankly, we need all the revenue that we can get. So we'll look at that. The issue with the 4th of July weekend, we'll look at as we get another week or two of experience here in terms of what the traffic levels are and what the demand are. We can look to see whether we can put one of the other boats on the run for 4th of July weekend. That week has already been designated as a reservation only week anyways, so we have that. We know what's been booked and how that plays out. The issue will be is that in the Port Council meeting, we'll be giving an update on the Woods Hole Marine project, and the third slip. It's looking like it won't be available until shortly right after the 4th of July week. So we'd have to bring the vessel from Fairhaven to run, which requires the transit time that adds to their operating day. But we'll continue to look at that.
If I may.
Let me. Sorry. Go ahead.
The other thing we encourage people is to, if you're unable to get a reservation, to go on the wait list. It's a very successful tool we have. One part of it, it will help people get reservations. The other one, it also gives us a way of trying to quantify these people who weren't able to get what they were looking for.
No, Mark, I appreciate that, and you and Bob had explained that quite clearly to me. What my concern is, number one, in terms of Cashman, who has been supposed to be out, and I know that COVID has impacted them, but if Cashman can't be out by the 1st of July, and that would require us to run boats from Fairhaven, I suspect we might just tell Cashman he has to stop on the 1st of July. And I'm just worried about, again, not having capacity over that weekend if there's demand. And I know that sophisticated users of our systems recognize going on the wait list will be helpful. But as the governor starts rolling out phase 2 and phase 3, and if people are thinking of coming here, any impediment to securing a reservation would be a disincentive, I think. So that's why I don't understand why it doesn't make sense simply to put on our full schedule on July 1st. And if we have to pull it back because there's no traffic, then we pull it off.
Jim, how do you do that?
Yeah. So
Jim?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please. I'm done.
Yeah, how do you just pull it off? I mean, either you make the schedule or you don't.
No,
How would you
Sorry.
suggest that we just pull it off as you suggest?
When I say pull it off, I say then we wouldn't run the boats if there's no demand, just as we didn't run the boats that Bob referred to the past evenings on the Woods Hole, and I believe it was the Island Home when there was no traffic on it. We just didn't run them.
I'm curious of what the overage is. People that haven't been able to secure passage at the time they want. Is it a prime time problem, or is it the fact that we are not running enough trips?
Bob, I don't know the answer to that. That's why I've deferred to Mark and Bob Davis on this. I'm basing my request on the large numbers of concerns and complaints that have been raised to myself and Ron Rappaport over the past several weeks. That's where this is coming from. And the concern that there's revenue out there that we might not be getting.
we can continue. We'll look at this and see whether we can ramp up service on the 1st. With the idea being is that we'd have, if there's no demand there, then we'd want to pull it back. Financially, in terms of the revenue that would be generated, if it's new business, then that's great. If it's improving the time and ends up having that at the end of the day, we're tying up 3 or 4 boats because of no service, then it's going to impact us financially.
I'm certainly not advocating for that.
Right. So we can look at that. And again, part of this was that we want to see, as these phases continue, what's opening up and then how that starts to impact the passenger demand as well. So we'll be looking at that. We anticipate that the motor vessel governor will be available. The schedule right now with the vessels that we have on the Vineyard Run, actually for the weekend, it's going to be more vehicle space capacity than what we had approved for the 2021 operating budget for the schedule there. And it's, I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it's within 40 car spaces or 50 car spaces of what we had planned for weekday service. So the full boat schedule that we're proposing starting on June 17th, vehicle space capacity wise is not that much different than what the other proposal had been. The offset is that the Nantucket route is impacted because they now have less vehicle space than what was budgeted on a daily basis.
I think it's kind of a balancing act too, because when you put on extra boats and things like that, the boats, the big boats cost somewhere around $25,000 a day, and the smaller boats, the Sankaty and stuff like that, are 12, 15 in that area there. So you gotta look at the whole picture. We're looking for convenience and we're looking to service the public for sure, but we've also in a terrible situation of how we're going to pay for all of this here. So I don't know. That's I think I think what I hear Bob saying, and Mark, kind of makes sense, is to basically try to put on more service when we can put on more service and meet the demand. And as I say, I don't know what the demand is, whether it's that daily demand, or is it future demand? Are they saying they can't get reservations in July or August, or what is the demand, Jim?
What we're hearing is people are unable to get reservations in the summer. And to what extent Bob is correct in saying that it's simply they can't get the times they want, or to what extent it is that there isn't availability at any time, is something that I can't get my head around. And we don't seem to have the numbers for, because of the way we measure things. And that's not a criticism, that's just stating what I've been told. So my concern about this is economic. My concern is if there's revenue out there that we're not getting, we should, in this situation, do everything we can to get as much revenue as possible. That's what my concern. And if Bob says he's going to look at what we can do to start things up on July 1st, I'm satisfied. Let's take a look at that and see where we're going.
Yeah, I agree with the revenue.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with the revenue, but do we have are the boats filled so that they're covering expenses? As I say, you get something like the Nantucket, it's going to cost you $25,000 a day. And so is the revenue going to at least pay the freight? We don't know.
I think what's missing from what Bob has told me is one freight boat, which is about 50 trips, 50 spaces. Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, so it'd be the Governor, and it's about 40 spaces. Depending upon the load, it's a little less if it's a truckload. It's a little bit more if it's a all car load, but basically 40 spaces.
And you said the Governor's coming back. When do you expect that?
Well, we're doing the repairs right now. As mentioned earlier, previous meetings that we had cut back on some of the overhauls because of we had laid people off. We are working on the Governor already. We anticipate that by the end of the month it'll be available if need be. And the idea is, based on what reservation activity we were seeing, we didn't anticipate that we'd be needing it prior to July 17th. But as we've illustrated earlier, we adapt the schedule. We've been adapting the schedule based on the demands, and we're not opposed to ramping it up if it makes sense to do so. And but in this case, it also will impact. We need to be looking at on the Nantucket route as well. The solution that we have right now is that we have the Woods Hole continuing to run on the Vineyard route, and as I said, that provides more service on the weekends than what was previously approved, but less service on the Nantucket run. So we need to look at that as well.
Bob and Jen, I just want to be sensitive to the schedule. I mean, we're now at 9:39. We have a full agenda on the Port Council meeting. It sounds like, it sounds like everybody's in agreement. We don't want to lose revenue. So if staff can help us quantify what we could be losing and answer some of Jim Malkin's questions. I think they're all valid questions, and we should try to figure those out. So if staff can come up with something for us to review, before the end of June, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Ed. That would be great. We can move on. I think Kate had an issue she wanted to bring up.
I'll keep it short. My question has to do with, I anticipate ongoing testing, medical issues dealing with the virus. It's not going to just be this summer, it's going to be ongoing. And so with that in mind, we've had a couple of people employees from different employee groups ask whether they also could be tested, because not all of our employee groups do get tested. And I know that that's expensive. There are logistical challenges with that. And Bob and I, we were talking about whether it would make sense to engage somebody to be part of our staff so that we could organize it and save money by having somebody in-house doing these medical tests.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, we had those discussions. We are efforting that to see the medical services that we have right now for the crews. We're under the basis that they're going to end up being reimbursable under the declaration of an emergency. We're looking at whether it's more cost effective and more practical for a longer term here, because we realize that this is going to continue. Whether we bring qualified individuals on staff and set up schedules for them, not only to do the vessel employees, but terminal employees as well, and maintenance and parking and everyone else. So we continue to look at that. Hopefully within the next within the next week or so, we should be able to make a decision on whether that's the appropriate route to go. The basis that we have for the medical professionals coming in is so that way they're obviously more qualified than any of our people could
Sure.
possibly be. So I think that would be a direction, and we'd still want to make sure that they're qualified medical professionals.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that there are a lot of medical professionals out there who, because of the virus, are not getting the business that they usually have.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether we can strategize with some of these professional groups to coordinate in a sensible, strategic way.
Yep. And with our operations spread out as far as each island, the Hyannis, Woods Hole, we have Fairhaven, we have the parking and everything. It's logistically it's challenging as well, just to coordinate that. So.
Absolutely. So maybe we need some advice about strategy. I mean, the people, what I've read on the Vineyard in terms of organizing testing strategies has been pretty impressive, and maybe we could get some advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, we've been working with the Board of Health agents on the Vineyard and on Nantucket. We've there's been off and on conversations with them as well. So we'll continue those efforts. And that's why I wanted to point out when I started earlier today that, our gratitude to, the Barnstable County Health, the Barnstable Health, Hyannis Fire Department, Nantucket Board of Health, and the two hospitals there for their efforts when we did have a case that we wanted to make sure that our people were tested so that way they could be cleared for work and cleared for their health and safety. So.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything further that we wish to discuss in this joint meeting before we go to the Port Council meeting? Are there any questions from anyone that should be addressed at this point, Sean?
Public comment?
We have public comment on the agenda, so. Well, whatever.
Hi, I can ask my question later, but it was about the traffic situation that Malcolm brought up. I guess, can maybe someone explain how if boats are full or at capacity, the steamship is still losing money? Or maybe just give a little bit of explanation of how that works.
Okay, I'll start.
Noah, could I just quickly say, Noah, passengers.
Okay.
That's a
Okay,
long answer.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess then that's kind of what I suspected. But I guess, is there any sort of, creative thinking business model wise about how, if there aren't going to be those kind of passengers this year, you can make the money back from what seems to be a similar demand in other sorts of access to the islands via freight or car traffic.
I'm happy to talk for a second, if you want, Bob.
Either way.
Just very quickly, Noah, because we've talked a lot about this. The people who are also carrying passengers, the High Line, the Sea Streak, and the other people with whom we have relationships are either not running or canceling trips or not opening simply because there's no passenger demand. The issue, frankly, that we face with day trippers and short-term people from the mainland is if there's no bars or entertainment or restaurants open and you can go social distance hiking on the mainland, why would you get on a ferry to come to the vineyard? And that's in people's heads with what's going on, I think. But that's enough for me. Bob, please, you can take it from there.
Yeah. In terms of it, Noah, the vehicles that we transport account for about 2/3 of what our operating revenues are. And it's the passengers, particularly the passengers during the summer months that make or break our operations. So if we can add more service for vehicles, it's not quite a break even on that piece of it. It's the passengers that end up.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thanks. I'll stop for now.
You done, Noah?
Yep.
Thank you. And from the other island paper, Mr. Salzberg.
I'll try to be as brief as possible. Referring to the graphs that were just put up about the vehicle traffic, I was wondering if either Mr. Davis or Mr. Rosem could break down, as things stand now, what the forecasted losses are for the boat line, as far as they break down between vehicle income versus passenger income. In other words, if it's possibly going to still be a $60 million loss, how much of that $60 million loss of revenue can be attributed to a lack of vehicle traffic versus a lack of passenger walk-on passenger traffic? Thank you.
Okay. I think in terms of it, the $60 million figure was back in beginning of April, when we were looking at passenger ridership being 15% of what we were seeing. We're having vehicle traffic at 25 or 30% of what we were seeing, what we expected. And if you did the math and extended that out for the remaining portion of the year, it ends up being about 60 million. Now these numbers, we did other projections, and again, hundreds of thousands of different models you could be using in terms of what the numbers are going to be. But once you start looking at this, I think the numbers for May are for vehicle wise are slightly ahead of what I would have estimated back in April, beginning of May, as being our better case scenario. I don't have how that plays out. I think over the next couple of weeks we'll see how this plays out, and we'll have a better sense going into the summer.
I guess if I may rephrase, even if it's a lower number like 40 million or 35 million, ballpark, could you break it down to say that hypothetically, 20% of that is vehicle income and 80% of that is passenger income, or 50-50, or what the ratio might be?
Well, typically the ratio for our operating revenues is about 32% passengers, 32% automobiles, and 32% trucks, and the rest is made up with parking fees and other services. So The way that our rate structure is it's split fairly evenly between those three major categories.
But walk-on passengers are often touted as the real income generators. Could you explain that as compared to the figures you just provided?
I think the month of June through September, I think our passenger revenue during those months accounts for about 55 to 60% of our passenger revenue for the year.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no more public comment, shall we close this joint session and allow the Port Council to have their discussions?
Move adjourn.
Motion to adjourn for both sides.
We have a second? We have
Yeah,
a second? Thank you. In terms of the Board of Governors, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Roll call, please.
Wilson, I.
Jones, aye.
Malkin, aye. Ed, you want to handle the?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Port Council portion of this meeting.
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Falco, aye. Huss, aye.
Bull, aye.
Shufelt, aye.
Washburn, aye. Mark, did Mark go? Sorry, Mark.
He did.
Yep.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for participating, and I look forward to talking to you shortly. Are we all closing off now, Sean, and then rejoining?
Kate, Rob, are you going to stay on to listen to Port Council, or are you signing off?
I'll stay on.
Mr. Jones, are you going to stay on?
I'm staying on.
Okay,
I'm staying on.
I'm going to put you back to the attendees just because we have a quorum present on the board and I don't want there to be any open meeting issues. So you'll still be able to listen, and if you've got any questions, you can raise your hand and I'll bring you back over. So give me 2 seconds here.
I think we just got disinvited from the party.
Yes, you did.
Oh, God.
Just stand in the hall for a while.
It's not your party anymore.
Rob.
I don't know where Rob is.
Bob, am I going to have to remake all those announcements and everything?
Yes. You're gonna have to bring in the start fresh.
Okay. Do I just use the ones from May?
There should be June announcements in your diligent. But yes, it's the same announcements.
Okay. It says no pages viewable.
Terry. I let Terry do it last night. That was, so what are you gonna do? All right, come on.
We don't want from the joint.
Yeah. Oh, approved, yeah. And if you've got the announcements from May, it's the same text, so you can just use those.
The top one on the list there is Rob.
Baddies here.
524.
Sean.
Are you going to record the Port Council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll just email it to him.
This is him.
Ed, I'll email it to you.
I have the May ones. If it's the same.
Except that it's different, Ed.
Okay.
You're in the meeting now.
Can you email it to my my work email?
Yep, got it right here.
Same with me, please.
Rob Munion.
He doesn't need to know.
Is that you, Rob?
Yeah, I've been here. You look like a green phone to me.
Sorry, we didn't.
Thank you.
Bring you in earlier.
I'm trying to get onto the Zoom. Is the meeting ID number this 855 number? If you could send me the link to my work, that would be better, because I'm not getting the steamship stuff except on my phone.
All right, I'll do that. Right. Give me 2 minutes.
You'll do it right now.
Thank you.
Rob, if you just put in, I had to figure this out last time when Nat beat me onto this thing. It's that 851 number you put into Zoom.
I can't believe that I'm ahead of you guys. That's scary. That's like, I actually don't believe it. I think you're making it up, because I'm terrible. So it's fascinating that I'm ahead of you.
I think you just like to act like you don't know what's going on.
I think it's luck, because I've been able to make it work with the town stuff pretty well too. I don't know how, but it's working.
You're an early adopter, Nat.
Don't knock it, Nat.
Boy.
Do you have it in your email?
I got it now.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm gonna have to do the tutorial later. I don't know what happened.
So do we know if Steve is?
He is here, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you too.
All right. So, we ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. George is ready. I can tell. I would like to inform everyone today that Steve Batty of All Media Productions is making a video and audio recording of today's meeting in public session for the Martha's Vineyard Community Television, known as MVTV. I would also like to inform everyone that John Driscoll, the Authority Communication Director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making a recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself by raising your hand on Zoom, or if you're on the phone, press *9.
Someone's
Rob, you're
on twice. Rich, you're recording?
Rich Salzberg from the MV Times.
Thank you. Noah, are you recording? Anyone else? There it is.
Hi, sorry, this is Noah from the Gazette.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. Anybody else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. In response to Governor Baker's executive orders concerning necessity to conduct public meetings in line with social distancing guidelines during the current state of emergency involving the COVID-19 pandemic, all Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendances today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members are participating in the meeting by Zoom video conferencing, and all members are clearly audible to each other. As a result of the members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. All right. Minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Huss, aye.
Hi.
Lowell, aye.
Mark?
Mark Reese, aye.
Dufeld, aye.
Washburn, aye. All right. Management report?
All right, we'll start with the business summary, so I'll have Mark come up. We'll keep it short.
Good morning. For the month of April, as previously discussed, passengers for the month were down 159,000, or 83% compared to the year before. Vehicles, cars were down 25,000 or 77% compared to the year before. Trucks compared to the year before were down about 10,000 or 58%. Year-to-date, passengers are down 190,000 or 35% compared to the year before. Passenger vehicles are down 32,000 or 31% compared to the year before. And number of trucks carried are down just over 13,000 or 23% compared to the year before. For the month of April, cars parked were down 8,000 cars, or about 92% compared to prior year. And year-to-date, cars are parked are down 9,400 or 44% compared to the year before. Okay. The month of April, total operating revenues were $2,446,985, which represents a decrease of $5,620,276, or 69.7% versus budget. Passenger revenues were down for the month $1,790,000 versus budget, which is an 86% decrease. Automobile revenues were down $1,640,000 or 75.7% versus budget. Freight revenues were down $1.6 million or 52.1% versus budget. And parking revenues were down in April $195,000 or 70% versus budget. During April, we made a combined 770 trips. This is a decrease of 1,100 or 58.9% versus the budget. On the Vineyard route, no trips were canceled for mechanical reasons, 52 for weather, 628 for traffic demands. On the Nantucket route, 0 trips were canceled for mechanical, 36 for weather, and 390 for traffic demands.
Mark, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
When you said the number of trips, not run, you're including the INO in that, so it makes the numbers
Yes.
look crazy. So just for everyone's information, you got to put an asterisk on that. Looks like we have no service,
Right.
for regular boats. So
On the Nantucket.
continue. Sorry, I just wanted everyone to know that.
Okay. Total operating expenses for the month were $7,740,663, which was down $447,000 or 5.1% versus amount projected in the budget. Maintenance expenses for the month were down $164,000, which consisted of the governor being down $188,000. I'm sorry, it was down $1.7 million. Sorry, grabbed the wrong sheet. It was down $1,740,000 for the month. Maintenance expenses were down. It primarily consisted of the governor being down $188,000. The Island Home was up $475,000. The IANO was up $136,000. Repairs to building and structures were down $716,000, and most of that is timing with the Oak Bluff dock. For the month, fuel expenses was down $157,000. Excuse me, it was $157,000, which was down $449,000 versus budget. The average cost per gallon of diesel fuel in February was for April was $1.53 versus the budget of $2.22. For the month, the net operating loss for the month of April, including other income and deductions, was $5,484,811, or $3,979,808 higher than the budget operating loss for the month. I'll take any questions on the results of operations for April.
Seeing anything?
Do the year decision. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. So as Mark's, the numbers in April weren't great. We ended up being at the end of April, we ended up being about $5.5 million behind where we projected that we would be for the year. Hopefully we can reverse that trend some. So.
Hey, Bob,
Yep.
question. I know we're not going to be making money, but when do you think we might be breaking even here so that our cash flow is basically even? Do you think we might break even in June, July, August, or July and August maybe?
For the month itself,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd be hopeful. You know, ordinarily, you know, May is typically a break-even month, and then June, July, August, September are the make money months.
Yeah. Right.
You know, at this point, May we won't be doing that. It's encouraging to see some of the trends going upwards here in June, but I think until passenger traffic rebounds, I don't see us breaking even until that happens. So at this point, my best estimate would be July.
Okay. But so we ought to be able to maintain our cash position over the summer anyway. We should be breaking even.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next item is the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction project. So I'll get Bill up here and he can give you all the good news. News only, Bill.
Good news only.
Well, that's great.
It's close enough.
Good morning. Cashman continues to make steady progress. It's not as great as it was last year because the principal reason is the COVID protocols. We're trying to limit the number of contractors on site to 35, whereas last year we were upwards of 50, 55 people. But the progress is steady. The transfer bridge is done. The passenger canopy will be done by the end of this week. And the deck is on the floating passenger platform for the west side of that passenger loading platform. So we're making steady progress. And at landside, most utilities are pretty much in. There's some, fine tuning. Lawrence Lynch is doing the final grading this week and installing bollards and light post. Next week, we're hoping to have them start paving. So we are making progress. I believe we're looking towards the end of the month to be operational in that slip. With that, I'll show you some pictures. Yep. So, okay, yep.
I'll see the slideshow.
Yep.
Title screen, okay.
The June 3rd one.
Spring forward here.
Time has no meaning. I don't know what day it is.
Okay. Are you ready, Sean?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so this first picture, you see the aluminum decking for this float that we have arriving and being unloaded. It was actually assembled on land, and then the ringing crane lifted it onto the platform. It's all in place. You still need to do some bolting and final fastening to it on the float.
Yeah. So just as a reminder to everyone, the pier itself is going to end up being accessible on most tide situations, but in order to make it the vessels fully accessible, we do have that float system that's outward on the western side of that, which will allow for us to have an accessible route under all tidal conditions. So.
Yep. Next slide. Okay, so what you're seeing here in the front is some of the legs. So this deck, it sits about 10 feet above the float. And in the background, you see the canopy, which has become an impressive structure on the waterfront. Next picture. This picture is the bridge that goes from the fixed platform, passenger platform, to the float. It's nearly 70 feet long and about 8 feet wide. Next one. What you're seeing here is some of the IP lighting people working on the finishing touches of the transfer bridge. This work is all complete now. What we need to do is get it powered up. The electricians are working on powering it this week, and as well as the lighting for the canopy. Next. This picture shows the utility platform and a lot of the conduit going underneath the catwalk to that utility platform that services shore power, sewage, and fuel. And potable water, exactly. All the boat service utilities are serviced from this platform. Next. This is a picture of the concrete truck, and they're pouring the concrete decking on the transfer bridge. This happened a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Next. This is this work is all complete too. This is you can see the form work on the top of that monopile. That's where they have to pour the concrete in two phases. There's a plug to keep they pour a plug, and then they put the rebar cage inside that and do the finish pour on a second round. Next. So what you're seeing here is the first section of the passenger float platform decking being lifted into place. Next. That next picture just shows all the utilities underneath that catwalk and going underneath that catwalk to the utility platform. Next. This is just an aerial view of the site. You can see the transfer bridge is in place. Most of all the glass is in place on the canopy, and yeah, this is all pretty much done at this point. Next.
I did it. It's just slightly different.
Oh, okay, I gotta.
Bill, where does that float go from in this aerial view? Where does that floating
Okay,
piece
so
go?
you see where the 7 or smaller piles stand up to the west?
Yeah.
To the left of the picture
By the ringer crane.
By the ringer crane. That float is in that is fixed in that area by those 30-inch piles. It floats.
Okay, thank you.
It floats up and down on those piles.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, okay, so here's another picture. This is a picture of the float out there, and this is another view of the canopy roof. Just pretty impressive.
Sure is.
And I think that's one last picture is the transfer bridge, just about complete at this point. And that's it. I'll take any questions.
Yeah. Bill, I got a couple.
Sure.
You know me, I'm going to talk about rust. I see a lot of galvanized material in these pictures, so that makes me happy. What is on the weights, okay? You know, the weights for the counterweight things?
Yeah.
I can't tell by the picture. It looks like they poured cement around the weight. What is that?
No, that's a stainless steel case for the plates. So it's steel
Beautiful.
plates. but they're encased in a stainless steel cover.
Okay, is there any way to put some sort of petroleum-based product in that steel, inside that, or somehow? And well, they've already built it, so it's certainly better than what we have today, so this is good. So my second question is, Bill, before you disappear in somewhere else someday, what about replacements that are like this for our current ramps that we have with the deteriorating weight systems that were built in the 80s and the 90s?
You're talking for the transfer bridges?
Yeah, like in other words, when we have to replace weights, do we have this design in the system so we can have these built to replace the other ones so they never have to be replaced?
Yeah,
Curious.
each bridge is slightly different, the counterbalance and the number of plates, but they're all the bridges are interchangeable. And we mentioned this in the past that we have a spare bridge now, and
No, I know.
we're going to try to
Yeah.
interchange them so that we can do maintenance on them. So the designs are all very, very similar, and they could work in any location.
Yeah, the new ones have a catwalk system. That's the only difference as far as like major
The catwalk on the
difference.
gallows, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah. That's
which is awesome, which is great.
thing that we could add, if we did maintenance, we could, that makes it a lot.
Okay, that's all. I'm not trying to ask unnecessary questions. I'm just looking at this as improvement stuff that, is going to end up needing to happen, on the other terminals. So, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope, thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next we have is update on the vessel repairs, and Anderson will be providing that.
We have pictured is the Woods, the Nantucket, MV Nantucket at Thames Shipyard.
Hold on.
Here we go. So the vessel undocked last month and is in Fairhaven repair facility, getting ready to undergo our company sea trials on the 11th, followed by Coast Guard sea trials and our entrance back into service on the 17th. A couple pictures. We spent an inordinate amount of time on getting the doors overhauled and reconditioned for the bow and the stern freight doors at the shipyard. This is a picture of being lifted back into place. We completely took down the side coatings of the vessel and replenished all the coatings both on the underwater and the superstructure area. Picture of the final right before docking of the port rudder and color assemblies. And this is a near final analysis of the dry dock repair cost of a little bit blocked out there with our, what's about the original was 1.292 million and credits 560,000 and change orders, which is an offset from the credits 926,000. So the near final cost of 1.6 million project.
Hey, Mark, this is Rob. How does that compare to your budget, the original budget?
Well, we kind of did a change, and as we're putting in a new QMS program, we've done a lot of updating on various elements, including rotating machinery. So we're probably about 25% above our budget, but that was really to get into deep into our preventive maintenance program.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. It looked like a lot of those changes were, kind of stuff that important but routine types of things that took advantage of being there.
Correct.
I would assume from now on that we probably will be a little closer on our budgets.
That's good. That's the goal.
That's, I hope so. Yep.
So
Well, those financial snapshots are very helpful, and so really appreciate them. And obviously, it's a good tool for you guys as well. So I think it bodes well. A snapshot like that for the terminal project would be handy as well. I'm sure you have it.
The 2020 operating budget had a little over $1.3 million set aside for the dry docking of that vessel. So,
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so next we have the status of the Oak Bluffs Terminal Repair Project.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a status of the Oak Bluffs Repair Project. This shows an aerial view of the areas.
Mark corrected the date on this one, so luckily I had his input on the date this time.
Now, this is a plan view drawing of our status. Right now we have, where you can see green is these are pilings that have been completed, and yellow is the piles have been driven and they're and they're got to be cut and shimmed to place. And we're on schedule for our 15th June completion. Let me show the next slide. This is the end of it near the transfer bridge. We have two piles still to be driven in that area, but we're going to get the pilings to be completed this week. We'll be finished on the 15th. So it's just a kind of an update of the status. Completed piles and shims are in green, piles under repair in yellow, piles remaining to be repaired in red. We do have one pile, is pile 2, which is right near the beginning of the ramp, which we're going to be placing a concrete jacket around. We've driven that pile unsuccessfully, hitting some sort of obstruction not too far under the line. And so we're going to be putting a cement jacket. It's in, it's all in the completion time period of 15 June.
That's good.
Thank you.
That George Bilko Studebaker?
What's that?
I was just asking if that was George's Studebaker that they hit.
Could be. Could be something left from the old wharf that when it burned down.
You never know.
And there's one more item under this projects. As you are aware, we had a failure at the in Vineyard Haven on the transfer bridge. The cabling for the counterweights snapped. So to share with you the.
So this is after this assembly of the bearing assembly. It's a pillow block bearing, and there was a fracture of the outer race. The bearing itself was well lubricated, and you know, it's unclear what the failure mechanism was, but it's sheared, and it's been replaced, and we're in good order.
Great.
Any questions at all?
Any questions?
Thanks a lot, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, so next item we had on here was for the 2021 draft operating schedules. We were originally planning on having the Port Council vote on recommending those, but Friday evening, we received a petition from no less than 50 Falmouth residents requesting a public hearing regarding the proposed 2021 operating schedules. in accordance with the requirements in our Enabling Act, we're scheduling that public hearing to take place on Thursday, June 11th at 4:30 p.m. It'll be via Zoom. So the public will be able to participate in that meeting and to provide their testimony regarding the schedule. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Malkin has, oh, no, he went away. We'll catch up with you, Jim.
So we'll have the public hearing on that. And then as we have in the past, we will then review the comments that were made and make a determination as to whether any adjustment to the proposed schedule is warranted. So at this point, we'll be taking this off the agenda for this month, and whether it's July or August, we'll be back with it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Repair
Mr.
schedule.
Malkin had his hand up. I brought him back to see if he had a question. You're muted, Jim.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Bob Davis had told me sometime last week or this week that with the work that we've done on the Vineyard route of 5,000 trips through the end of April, we've had, I believe it was 8 delays due to mechanical reasons or cancellations.
Yeah,
and it seems to me that is a great number. Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, it's 8 trips out of nearly 5,000 trips, that we ran for both runs combined. So, I mean,
well, for both runs, that's. I just think that's given the history and the concerns. I think that's a real good number, and I think it's important to recognize the efforts that have gone into making that number happen. So, thank you.
And we won't give up on those efforts either.
That's great. Nice job, Bob and the team. All right. Anything else, Jim?
Oh, well, I already put him back, so.
All right.
Trigger finger today, sorry.
Draft repair schedules.
Yeah, that's for your information. We historically look at repairs of the vessels going forward anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So I think, depending upon which vessel it is and the timing of it, it may be a 4-year schedule, maybe a 5-year schedule. But just goes to show as part of the next item too, in terms of the budget policy on, in terms of our operations on how we lay out the repair periods for our vessels. Most of the vessels that we have, with the exception of the Katamer and the Gayhead, fall under the dry docking requirements of the Coast Guard, is that 2 dry docks within a 5-year period, but no more than 3 years apart from one another. Our practice has been to be dry docking the vessels every other year. So over a 10-year period, it ends up being an additional dry docking, but we feel that it's helpful in terms of being able to maintain the vessel's reliability on that. It also assists us in the scheduling options. So what we've tried to do over the years is try to have it so that way each route has basically the same number of vessels that are in dry dock in any given year. We also, offset with the freight boats as well, but also to make sure that we have sufficient capacity in order to continue our operations during the off season when all these primarily are being performed. So this was more of for informational purposes. So if anyone has any questions, be happy to answer.
Bob, I have a quick question I had at the previous meeting that I wrote down when Jim was talking about the service and stuff. Do we have a freight boat this summer in dry dock, or are we skipping it due to all the, whatever, everything that's going on, the new normal, the new whatever it is, reasons, because you know how we've had one every summer?
Yeah.
So we, instead of having,
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the container will be sent to dry dock this summer, yes.
So so with that said, since we have the Sankaty this year, is the hazmat on the Vineyard route, you must have that all organized between the governor and the Woods Hole to make that work.
Yeah, so the schedule the schedule that we're working on from June 17th to July 16th, and obviously in light of the earlier meeting, we'll be looking at that from July 1. But at the very least, from June 17th to the end of the month, the freight vessel on the Vineyard route will be the Woods Hole.
Yep. In that sort of is part of some of those questions that were asked by the newspaper guys. This stuff is so hard to answer, and I waited because I saw this in the agenda, and this is important for everyone to understand that what we've done shifting things around, we're doing fine over here with the Sankaty. We're doing great, and the main thing is to keep the Vineyard operating with more capacity with the Woods Hole with less boats. That was what we discussed in March, Bob, when we made that decision. And I think it's important for everyone to understand that technically, that stuff was thought of ahead of time to figure this out, and it's working. And it just doesn't look pretty, but it's working. So, your way of explaining it is better than mine. I just wanted to just get that out there, that we're over here with the Sankaty and everything is okay. And the Vineyard has the Woods Hole to be able to do two things at the same time while have the Katama offline. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks goes to the staff and to our employee, our frontline people, reservations people, and keeping us informed as to what they're seeing and what they need. So.
Bob, one question I have is: does this interact at all with the QMS or the system that you guys have in place for maintenance, or is this an output of that, or how does this interact with that?
Yeah. So as we, this on? Okay. This is something that we've used for a number of years here. It's expanded over the years. We used to just do it on a 2-year basis, and we realized we need to be looking further out, particularly with some of the bigger projects. In terms of the SQMS, this of course, those features will be in terms of what preventative maintenance we need to be doing and the things like that. So I imagine we'll be factoring that in as we do scheduling for projects as to what preventative maintenances are required, and for the vessels, and also for the terminals.
Yeah, no, it just strikes me as this is a good overview with a longer time frame that can interact with the QMS in a way that kind of dictates what you guys should be working on. So I think this is a great tool.
Yeah, and I think in terms of it, it's not just the dry docks. We do overhauls of all of our vessels each year, and we have a talented group of individuals that work on the vessels at our Fairhaven facility there in Mark Reese's hometown. So.
Hey, Bob, this is Rob. I don't know if you covered it. I just had to sidebar for a second, but I noticed this technical term called spruce up, and I was wondering exactly what that was and why some ships get a spruce up and other ships don't.
That's a Fairhaven term.
So
That's a New England term. Come on.
We kind of coined that term, I don't know, 10 to 12 years ago, where we were seeing that, for instance, at the time, the Eagle at that point was the first vessel off the run in the fall. And it'd come back out, and then it'd run all winter long and all spring. And by the time summer came around, it needed some sprucing up. So we realized that between Memorial Day and 4th of July, that with the vessels that we had, we were able to interchange some of the vessels and allow the vessels to come in, a vessel or two to come in for a spruce up to address anything. And we've used it, for instance, if we have, a bow or stern door that, needs to be looked at, and it's going to take more time than just what we can do overnight or whatever. We schedule that. We'll end up scheduling it. The dates that we have in here really are, kind of placeholders. We adjust those as we get closer to it to determine if there's a vessel that needs some particular attention to it. So it is primarily the larger vessels. We do look at it. For instance, the last boat obviously is the Nantucket. So there's no need for them to have to go turn right around and go back in for a spruce up before the summer season. So.
Okay, I got it. Thanks, appreciate it.
I just can't believe you don't spruce up the Hui vessels.
They're constantly spruced up.
Who's in charge of the sprucing up? No, who's in charge of sprucing up the Hui vessels there, Rob? Is that your responsibility?
It is.
All right. I'm going to start using that term. I like it.
All right.
I knew we should have copyrighted it.
That's a nautical term, by the way.
Yeah.
Spruce up.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments on the repair schedules?
Good.
All right, operating budget.
Okay.
Morning again. So enclosed in the packet is the 2021 budget policy statement outlining the parameters for creating the budget for this year. Operating revenues. So in the past, we've used historically the most recent 12 months to forecast what our traffic level is going to be based for, which is the basis of our revenue. But with COVID-19 in play, we're going to start with a baseline of the last 12 old normal, which would be from March of 2019 through February 2020, and then adjust accordingly with developments with COVID for traffic patterns, whether it's regulations or financial or whatever it may be that are affecting our traffic levels. So, and this is very fluid and dynamic, and we're looking at just from April 1st to where we are now, a dramatic change. So we're going to be closely monitoring that and adjusting the traffic levels as required. And included in the packet, we've had the traffic graphs from January 2014 to current for all the major traffic categories. Operating expenses, as Bob touched on just recently with the repair schedule, the operating schedule is going to drive what vessels are running and all, which is based on the maintenance schedule. So the maintenance department will do, based with the SQMS, the required repairs that are needed to keep the boats operating safely and efficiently. This also applies for the facilities as well. We're working closely with them to get the information and the that is required to maintain that budget. Level of employment, we're good. What was approved in the 2020 operating budget is what we're looking for the levels in the 2021 budget. Again, these are all determined on any developments associated with COVID-19 and the levels of service that are going to be required next year. Training, we will continue to train our employees. We've been using the learning management system, which is a great tool. We'll be also looking at getting our employees more familiar with the SQMS system. That'll be included in the budget, as well as the annual trainings we've been doing, such as SDCW, customer service, confined space training, and things of that nature. Use of information systems, looking to implement a dedicated mobile app in 2021. We're also looking at ways to improve our website for efficiencies and customer experience in 2021. Healthcare, as previously, as the previous year, looking at keeping the employee contributions of 20% of the expected cost of the healthcare costs. In addition, any costs associated with the Affordable Care Act or the Families First Corona Response Act will be included in the budget as well. Vessel fuel oil, we continue to hedge. Right now, we're hedged through October of 2021 with a price of $1.93, including hedges. Last year, the budget for the year was $2.12. We've seen oil trade anywhere from -$37 to $47 in the last 3 months. Right now, it's trading between $35 and $40 per barrel. Utilities, new for this year is we're going to look at pursuing all opportunities to develop a request for proposal for solar energy developments on our properties, i.e. solar canopies. See if there's a revenue stream there for us. Other changes is advertising. We will look to continue to maintain the same types of advertising placements currently being used. We will reevaluate on an annual basis the emphasis of the advertising program to determine the appropriate mix of media usage. In general, the authority shifted its focus from towards digital marketing versus print marketing. And as a last resort, fares and rates, we'll look at, we'll make every effort to minimize any need for a rate increase. Last year was the first year we introduced peak pricing on the weekends, where pre-COVID seemed to work well. But that is something we want to stay away from if possible. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the budget policy statement.
Yeah, Mark, George, I think it's time that while we're working on the budget, we also maybe set together a committee or something to work on a proposal to change our enabling act to let us build up a reserve fund of very substantial size, maybe 40–50% of revenues. And I think that I wouldn't expect we'd get this put in place now, but certainly I think this would be an appropriate time to start in our budget planning and to move forward with a proposal to do this so that we don't have this sort of problem the next time the world comes to an end.
Okay.
Yeah, just that's a great point, George. I actually had a similar note, and there may be. I mean, I think we'll have a lot more clarity by the end of the summer in terms of what ridership is. And so one question I have is, what's the schedule on some of these deliverables, and does it make sense to kind of wait and see how July and August go before you guys really dig in into looking into the abyss and not really understanding exactly what the reality is going to be over the summer? So what's the schedule, and how is COVID kind of impacting that?
So our schedule is to propose it at the September meetings, and generally we push the Port Council back a week due to the holiday, and just gives us a little more time with the budget to get as much real data from the summer as possible. So we'll be presenting the preliminary in September and for approval in October, because at a certain point we're going to have the rates established for the general public and Head Start reservations in the freight for the following year. Working the clock backwards. We would develop the core schedule based on the operating schedule, level, how many trips each boat's running, what the manning on the boat is, how many miles, the fuel costs, how many people needed the staffing at each terminal, et cetera. And then based on traffic demands, we would pull, add a vessel in, pull a vessel out, look at timings and when things are open, and then that would adjust accordingly in the budget. But at least we'll get a baseline started from here's what normal used to be, and then based on the adjustments, we'll add or subtract things in or out. Hopefully that answers your question, but at least, we got it's very comprehensive process.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I would just suggest that staff, by September, I think the data is still going to be coming in on Labor Day, on everything else, and hopefully we're in a very much better place than we are now. But I think, to the extent we need to look at what the fall looks like and what the actual requirements are for getting it posted and all that kind of stuff, a little bit more time to digest the data for you guys and for the council and the board, I think could help us make sure, understand what we saw in the data, also understand what we can expect, just on, what is summer of 2021 going to look like? Is there going to still be social distancing? Is there still going to be capacity constraints next summer? I think we'll kind of need to understand that over the course of the summer, over the course of this summer. So I would just I would advise to be flexible if it looks like things are still very opaque come September. I would say let's get all the information in and discuss it when we're more confident in the data. That's just my opinion. Other folks on the council can feel free to chime in.
I think basically by summer, end of the summer, we should start looking at, as George suggested, being able to have some kind of fund that we can put money into. And again, we can use the data that we've just seen. We can use this year as an example that we need to be able to start putting money into a reserve fund so that if something like this happens again, or if it continues to happen, that we are able to support ourselves and we're not going to end up, either having to go to the towns or coming back to the state. And I think, the logic of that is you tell the state, if we can do it, we're not going to come for you for money. I think they're going to go for it. All right.
Ed,
Yep.
this Mark Reese.
Yep.
I think this budget policy statement is very good. I don't see any mention of I apologize, I can't remember the name, but the management study that we had done and the listing of improvements. And I was wondering if that could be somewhat factored into the statement, just so we don't lose sight once things get back to normal, if they ever do, of the efforts we're trying to do in improving the operations and management. I know there's mention of the education and safety instructions, which is part of that study, but maybe be a little bit more explicit tying the management, the budget statement to that goals of the management report.
Sure, I can do that. I can update that. And a lot of the positions were in the 2020 budget already for the previous years, as far as the additional resources for the engineers. And that would, as mentioned earlier, would have the same level of staffing as a baseline from 2021 as we had in the approved 2020 budget. The SQMS part will be in there. And the issue for the strategic plan is I can call that out as well.
Okay.
In the budget statement.
Yeah, this is Rob. I agree with a lot of the points that have been made about this being very different and to be, cautious about that. I think, the question really is about, from a budgeting perspective, is what is the new normal? And does the old model of using the traffic from the period of time that you've proposed reflect what the new normal is? And of course, we don't know what the new normal is. So it seems like the process this year has to be done with an open mind with respect to how you might try to model that and what kind of flexibility you want to give ourselves, and what that process should look like in terms of participation by folks from the Port Council and the Board of Governors in terms of just thinking about what new normal might look like. Because it may not be that using traffic from the period of time that you've picked is going to be the right model. You know, and we still may not even know that by the time that we're talking about in September.
And I totally agree with you, and that's where it was going to be a baseline, and we're going to adjust it as more information comes in on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah.
Just a quick point. I agree with everything George said and everyone else's comments. Just like to always warn that the exposure that the steamship has had as a result of the money side and asking for the money that from the state and from, you know, CARES Act, et cetera, and the one that they're working on now, you know, sort of opened the eyes of a lot of people, and I'm sure that didn't even know that we weren't subsidized, including the governor. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts here. We don't even know how much money we need to just meet the budget of 2020. I think it's going to take, I agree with those last few comments, it's going to take longer than the fall. I mean, to really know. We know that, you know, we know where the virus issue is almost secondary when we think about what people are going to react like next year, booking, short-term rentals, turnover. You know, the day tripper issue is gonna be like a new spreadsheet for Mark to figure out, and I'll bet you money he can probably get pretty close. So, you know, I think this discussion needs to be left as a continuous comment by both boards to come up with a plan in the fall to what that number would be for that account, whether it's, you know, adding a couple million, should it be 10 million? I don't know what the number should be. But I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about how the Steamship Authority funds its operations versus its maintenance and repairs at the terminals going forward as far as funding from the feds and things like that, which will help us. So that's my comment.
All right. Any other comments from the members? Yeah. So
Ed?
I think.
Ed,
Go ahead.
I have to leave the meeting.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that. I know we're getting close, but I had to head out by 11. So.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen.
Take care.
Take care.
Have a nice June, all.
You too. So one, you know, it may make sense to actually have a COVID-19 category on the budget statement that just highlights that, you know, through, because I mean it's something that's gonna be a thread that runs through each one of these categories. So I mean you may want to focus on that a little bit more by just creating a new category and saying, you know, we're gonna play it here. Yeah, I think in some ways, because we're a January to June fiscal year, just given the way that this has happened to hit, I think you guys are at an advantage. I mean, I have a July to June fiscal year, and we're just going to do a 4-month, you know, preliminary budget because we have no idea what the summer's going to bring. So I think. I mean, I think there's, as Nat said, I think there's an opportunity to, and as everyone else on the board said, there's an opportunity to get the information in and think about it in a way that, you know, and craft a budget that makes sense. So, all right.
Mr. Malkin's got his
Thank
hand
you.
up. Can I bring him over? You're muted.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the Port Council for this discussion, and it finishes with what Ed just said. It would be possible to give best estimates of COVID expenses and COVID revenue impacts that we could keep as a category as we look at evaluating what we're doing next year. So there'd be a way of trying to get a real handle on both sides of the equation in terms of the exposure to the balance sheet and our operating costs based upon this pandemic. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So I think if I may, so one of the things is as you know, the discussions that Mark and I previously had regarding the budget was, you know, I think flexibility is going to have to be one of the key things that we're looking at. And you know, the policy here, you know, the budget policy that's being presented, we want to get that going so that way we can get to work on the budget. So that way we have time to be able to see, you know, well, what our traffic is looking like and what direction it's going in. So that way that's going to determine, you know, what adjustments, if any, that we need to be making to the proposed operating schedule. Also, you're taking into account, you know, the vessel repairs and you know, what needs to be done on those. I think some of the other costs in terms of, you know, are we going to continue to need, you know, additional nightly cleaning crews and things like that? Those are all things that we'll be able to quantify and be able to identify as, you know, what the cost is for those items as well. So the idea is, again, the flexibility that I think a number of you have kind of touched on in your comments. So.
All right. Thanks, Bob. 3E. Access pass.
Ed, typically we ask the Port Council to vote to recommend budget policy.
There were a lot of kind of comments. How do you how do you want to react to the comments, Bob?
I move to recommend the policy as stated. They can make some changes on things, but I don't know that we can come up with all the little bits and pieces, but they've got the broad policy there.
Yep. Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Falco, aye.
Haas, aye.
Lowell, aye.
No. I'd like to see a revision based on the comments received today before adopting.
Okay, Ed Washburn, aye. I do, you know, I do think we want to see the revisions as well. But to George's point, I think we can, you know, you guys can move forward and keep us updated on some of the comments that we had.
It's a living document.
Yep.
An iterative process. Okay. Next item.
Okay, so next item we had on here was access pass for Plymouth and Brockton bus. I think John Cogliano from Plymouth and Brockton was on earlier. So I think we had been approached back in the beginning of March regarding allowing access for Plymouth and Brockton to meet some of our trips. Originally, it was going to be for service to TF Green Airport. We had presented this to the board. Ms. Wilson had asked that we get some feedback from the town of Falmouth regarding this. I actually, I know that the Falmouth EDIC had been involved in this, and the initial request is, I think, is expanded to include other services to Boston and Logan, in which, as we're looking at this, you know, part of it is I tried to reach out to find out what the Falmouth EDIC had, and I don't know whether John can enlighten us in that regard. But then the other issue we have is that with the terminal delays that we've been having down in Woods Hole, you know, in terms of the accessibility in terms of the traffic. We see that as a continuing issue as well. So trying to see whether we can balance this in terms of the service that, you know, Peter Pan has been providing for years. Prior to them, the Peter Bonanza bus and Greyhound, in terms of being able to accommodate more than one bus operator. So John, I don't know whether you, again, I wasn't able to get any word on what the EDIC had done. So.
Okay, can you hear me, Bob?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, good morning to the board, and thank you for the opportunity to participate in the meeting. Yeah, we're very excited about this new service. As far as Falmouth EDIC, we received a draft agreement last week after their lawyer reviewed the draft agreement. So right now we're reviewing their revisions to the agreement. And we're very hopeful that we'll be able to resolve that in very short order. So it's the same schedule that I provided to the Steamship Authority, which would be approximately 3 trips to TF Green and 3 trips back to Woods Hole and Falmouth Center for the TF Green Airport's new service, which is a direct service, which would be a great benefit to the Steamship Authority passengers, and of course to the folks on the islands as well as in Falmouth. And then also the second service would provide 5 trips up to Boston and Logan Airport, and then 5 return trips as well. So as I said, we're excited about this. I think it's a great benefit for the Steamship Authority, where, you know, you're adding additional service, giving people more options. And we all recognize that bus service is a great reducer of congestion, and it's cost effective. And I might add, you know, I think it's in the best interest of the Steamship Authority to have more than one transportation option, especially in this case where we're adding new service that doesn't exist, direct service to TF Green. So I think everyone benefits from this. And of course, it also is great for the Steamship Authority.
Great. Bob, do you need a vote on it? What?
Yeah. Well, and again, since I hadn't found out where Falmouth EDIC had come down on this, and that was one piece that Ms. Wilson had requested to find out about. The other piece of it is again that I bring up that. You know, the initial request had been just for the TF Green service, which would have been something that, you know, we didn't have that direct connection to. The fact that we do have this other service, and with all the construction that we have going on there, you know, we need to evaluate whether we're going to be able to accommodate both services at the same time. You know, right now we do sell the Peter Pan tickets. There is a revenue stream there as well that we receive. So how that would be impacted, I apologize because you know, I was hoping that I would have had this other information to be able to formulate a you know, a final recommendation here, but. I guess in terms of it, if it's the concept, if the Port Council wants to, you know, voice, you know, something regarding the concept, but it still needs to be worked out amongst, you know, what sort of we'd be looking at, and, you know, and the like. I guess that would be what I'd be looking for.
Move to recommend the general concept of the new service, subject to the limitations that may arise, and subject to the comments from Falmouth and other interested parties.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that motion?
I guess I would just add that the route to TF Green, I think, would be a real benefit to everybody. And if that benefit requires some additional routes to help make that economical for the operator, I think that's a small price to pay. I think it's a real benefit to this area to have that access to TF Green directly. So I think this is a really good idea.
I agree.
Conceptually.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. All right, roll call vote.
Falco, aye.
Plus, aye.
Lowell, aye.
Munir, aye.
Sorry, Mark, can you just repeat that?
Reese, aye.
Washburn, aye. All right, thank you, John. Good luck with the service.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, old or new business? Anything from the Port Council members?
Just a couple things. I just want to thank Bob through you, or through Ed to Bob, excuse me. That decision the other night with the gay head swap, I just want to thank everyone for that. Send out the appropriate thank yous from Nantucket for that move. Brilliant. That was one of those, it usually doesn't happen things, and it did, and it was just perfect situation. And then Mark, would you want to take a look at I don't know if this is even appropriate to bring up, but the driver service loss in money. The driver services, it's one of those things on our route that people don't see the other income. And there's a lot of money lost in this right now. And but I think that with the Sankaty running, because you mentioned earlier about, the difference in budget, Bob, you brought it up about the Sankaty versus the Vineyard. I mean, theoretically, I think it's going to be a wash. There's a lot of other income that we're not getting versus saving money having the Sankaty on this route as well. So maybe the driver service revenue could be put down as a sort of for the next meeting or the following meeting versus last year. We don't normally do stuff like that, but that's a big number. So I thought I would throw that in there as something to add to some of this financial discussion. So, and also, Bob, when are we going to the Sankaty on the weekends? Is that going to happen on the 17th as well?
Correct.
Is everything hitting on that date?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Real estate agent. I get 3 real estate agents messaging me, constantly asking me these questions, and I don't actually know. So thank you.
Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the pre-sale of the Iron books will start on June 8th.
And that's for the, okay, thank you. Yep, June 8th, okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nat.
Yep.
Anything else from the Rob?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to acknowledge, running the Steamship Authority is tricky enough, but when you layer on this COVID, it is extraordinarily tricky. And you have to be able to respond almost daily to change. And so I think the folks in the management team have done a good job at that. And I really appreciate the fact they've communicated it well and regularly to all of us, so we know what's going on, and reacted as things have unfolded. It's not easy. So it's hard to make that.
I'd like to also say that communication has been considerably better. Keeping the island informed has basically helped a lot with the feelings that the island has for the Steamship Authority. So Sean's done a great job. Thank you.
All right, good job, Steve.
I have to live with him.
Yeah. Look, I'm giving him right now.
Okay, any items that I did not reasonably anticipate? Hearing none, public comment.
But can I just say one thing? You know, I know we had a joint meeting, but the problem with the joint meetings is it tends to put our meeting later and so on. And I think I would rather see distinct meetings happen.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I tend to agree. I mean, we started about a half hour late, Bob. So I think we got to go back to the drawing board in terms of the Port Council's needs and the board's needs.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn on that good point.
We have public comment, and your comments about the noted.
All right, Mr. Salzberg.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Munson, if he's still available, and a couple questions for Mr. Davis.
I'm sorry, Rich, you broke up a little bit.
I had said I had a couple of questions for Mr. Munson, if he was available, and it appears as though he is.
Yep.
And then a couple of questions for Mr. Davis.
You said Munson.
Munson.
Sorry.
I think he means Mark.
Yeah.
Referring back to the image of the component that failed on the Slip 2 transfer bridge in Vineyard Haven, could you sort of walk through in layman's language, how that component contributed to the cable breaking and contributing to the weight falling?
Sure. You have a sheave which the wire that attaches to the counterweight to the bridge rotates in a bearing assembly. When the bearing assembly failed, the sheave froze and the wire abraded on the sheave and causing it to part. It's very difficult. This is probably the length of the operation of the wire from bridge up to bridge down is probably less than 2 feet. It's not a big movement, but it's an important movement. And not being able to see it's very difficult to see the sheave even moves because it really doesn't even rotate even a full revolution. So that is the failing mechanism of it. Given the failure of the race, I do think that it's important that we keep lessons learned on close watching of the sheaves in operation, which we do both from the bridge and the shore operations.
And was that component sort of hidden internally where you couldn't see it? Or is that, the sheave is on the outside, but the other component you mentioned, is that inside somewhere where it's not easily seen?
That is correct. The bearing is actually inside what's called a pillow block bearing, and you cannot actually see inside because there's an encasement around the bearing, so we would not be able to visually see if that part had taken place.
Understood. And also concerning that particular bridge, I noticed this morning on the other set of counterweights, the ones that didn't fall, there's a strap around the bottom of the weights. Is there a utility to that beyond perhaps the obvious?
I'm not aware of that picture. I'd have to see it to comment on it.
Okay, understood. And then concerning the Oak Bluffs Pier, you had mentioned that the 15th, you look like you're on track to finish the work there. Will that translate into an opening on the 15th or an opening on the 23rd?
We'll deliver it back.
Plan.
We'll deliver it back into operations on that date, fully ready to go.
Understood. And there was a couple of pilings broke during the pile driving operation there. One of which appeared to have toppled and struck a railing. And I'm wondering you could speak to the possibility that piling could have fallen in any direction towards the cab of the crane or towards the people that were on the pier at the time, or was there some sort of guide line on that sent it in the direction that it went?
Well, as it's Pier 2, piling number 2, and you have so many piles per inch that per minute that we go by, and we have setback for that type of safety operation. It's not one we envisioned that would happen, but we did have proper setbacks in place.
Setbacks as in people were standing far enough away from it?
That's correct.
Okay, understood. And last but not least, concerning the gyro compass on the island home, for the uninitiated, could you give a layman's description of what a gyro compass is and what its utility is on the bridge and what went wrong with it?
Okay, the gyro is an important aid to navigation as it stands as a function of input into the ARPA radar. In a layman's term, the ARPA radar is an important aid to navigation in itself is because it has everything to do with the collision avoidance system that's built into that radar. In other words, if a vessel changes track, it'll alarm on the radar that there's a potential collision potential there. So as far as the maintenance of it, it was done an annual service, had just been completed in January. And it's not one that you can build redundancy into many things, but this worked out just as it should have. If we could have ramped up earlier, meaning that the stabilization of the governor, we would not even have missed the trip.
Understood. And if I may ask, what would, and congratulations on the low mechanical breakdowns. Could you speak to what you might attribute that to, this sort of nice round of lessened breakdowns that Mr. Malcolm pointed out?
Well, let's not count all the accolades yet. Let's get further into it. So, but the ISM QMS project is focused on preventive maintenance, in particular into critical systems. And that's what we've tried to do this past year. And hopefully we'll be knocking on wood and the trend is going in the right direction.
Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. And I'll try to be brief, Mr. Davis. I believe one of the last meetings I had inquired about your communication with the Commonwealth and trying to forge mechanisms if needed regarding compensation from the state. Has that process advanced? And if it has, can you speak to it in any detail?
Yeah, so we continue to have productive discussions with the Commonwealth's Executive Office of Administration and Finance. Obviously, with the CARES Act funds that we got, the short-term cash issue has been alleviated some. So we continue to have those discussions on a regular basis, and part of this is to see what trends we're seeing in terms of our ridership. So,
at this time, can you forecast whether you think that's necessary or not, or is it too difficult? That will be necessary.
Well, at the current time, we want to continue these discussions because we're seeing that it's at some point here where we end up. One way or the other, we need to have the Commonwealth involved in those discussions.
Is that could I interpret that to mean that there will be some assessment, but you're not sure how much?
Yeah, at this point, it's premature. We need to be looking as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then if there are any questions left in the world, Noah Asimo will ask them.
All the pressure's on. The Woods Hole Terminal, you guys said that it's not going to be scheduled to be done until after the July 4th weekend, or at least the third slip. What was the original scheduled date for that to be finished?
Well, much like the, the third slip, that was made available for Memorial Day weekend a year ago, and then work continued after that. And it wasn't until the latter part of June that the full slip was available on a regular basis. As Bill pointed out now, that I guess that they've updated that timeline a little, that they're hopeful to be able to complete that, the work that's necessary by the end of this month. So that's a slight change from the previous conversations that I'd had with him. So we're hopeful that at this point that, at the end of the month, the issue is that, right now, with only 3 vessels operating, it's not an issue.
But I think you were saying June 17th, that 4th vessel was going to be put into service. When the terminal was able to open, would that impact whether that vessel could be used?
Yeah, no, we'll still have 4 slips available at that point. So 2 on the Vineyard and 2 in Woods Hole. So.
Okay. And so is there a scheduled completion date for the third slip?
The third slip's done. You're talking about the second slip?
Yeah.
That's the one that, as Bill mentioned earlier, that they're targeting getting it done before the end of the month.
Okay.
Just in a matter of time, is it possible, Noah, to have a conversation with Bob?
I'm all done.
Okay. Thanks, Noah. All right. Any other public comment, Sean?
No, I think we're square.
All right. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
George, turn your thing off.
Balco, aye.
Us, aye.
Lowell, aye.
Udare, aye.
Reese, aye.
Washburn, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have
Have a good day, everybody.
a good month.
Yeah.